Hey, what's up, guys? So, interesting times. Yeah, we've got some Thea information now, as you guys have seen. So, we got some information actually posted yesterday from Redenso. They actually gave us a quick update as far as new stuff that they're working on for Redenso Radar and now upcoming Redenso Labs. They also gave us a little update about Redenso Thea as well. It's kind of being redesigned, and they're going to call it Redenso Thea 2. In the video description, if you guys are watching the replay, I posted the links to their announcement about that, as well as to my initial reactions. Same day, I was like, I watched the video, kind of took some notes, and just wanted to share some of my thoughts. Since then, there's been a lot of other really good information and kind of good discussion last night as well as today, whether it's on the forums, whether it was in the comments to my videos and their videos and that kind of stuff. And a lot of really good and interesting takes and additional things that I hadn't thought of, good discussion and whatnot. So I figured this is an interesting thing. We're all talking about it right now. So let's just kind of hang out for a bit and chat about Thea. I kind of took some notes beforehand on just kind of some interesting points that I wanted to make sure that we jump into. But as you guys are joining, yeah, feel free to like hop into the chat and kind of share your thoughts as far as impressions and questions and whatever you want to talk about, whatever. So I kind of want to just run through some of the things that I've noticed online that I want to go ahead and get to, and then I'll start jumping into the chat and we'll go take a look at there. So as far as some of the things, one of the funny things that I saw was people were like, what do you mean you're launching Thea 2? You've never launched Thea 1. How can you launch version 2 if you've never released Thea 1? And it's a good point. I kind of wonder if they launch it, if they launch it, like, will it be called Thea 2, or is that kind of something internally for us, or like, will it just be Redenso Thea announced, so that'll be kind of fun to see. But yeah, it's kind of funny. Some of the comments were even like, they're not going to launch Thea 2. They're going to release as Thea 3. They're going to redesign it again. So just kind of funny stuff with that. Another thing was a number of people mentioned like the update that they shared was not really an update. I mean, they said they redesigned it with new chips, so they're going to be able to like build the thing, and they made it a little bit smaller, but not really a ton of concrete information about it. It was kind of like a non-update almost, which is true. And additionally, they're also going to go silent again. So I'm glad to see that they, again, came up to say something. But yeah, there's not really a ton of information, and moving forward, we're still not going to get a ton of information about it, for better or for worse. Again, without getting into like their business decisions for wanting to do so, if maybe it's not to their advantage to talk about it, whatever else, they're going to be silent about it, and so be it. I also found a lot of you guys were finding with the chip shortage, a lot of people didn't believe them about that. I guess there's no way to know about that for sure. I have seen a number of people in the comments who work for other companies, various tech companies or whatever, and they're like, hey, we're having issues getting you this like $13 chip, and it's holding up other products or other projects rather. I have been seeing this kind of happen in other companies as well. I obviously don't speak for Redenso. I don't have any sort of inside information. I am inclined to believe them. I think it would be crazy for them to try to announce something like this and then just decide, yeah, we're not going to launch it. And here's all the R&D and investors pouring in money, but like, we're just not going to launch it. Like what it does to their business and reputation and all that kind of stuff. Like that to me doesn't make sense. And so, yeah, it's a very weird, the whole thing is just weird. The whole thing is weird. Yeah, still a ton of people. Yeah. Thea 2, Vaporware 2. That's a really common comment too. I'm seeing too. David, no estimated release year, even like legit. We don't know anything. It could be 2025. Like we have no idea at this point. Now, on that note, they mentioned they did have some other projects that they're working on, and definitely something that a lot of you guys brought up is the kind of government intervention aspect. It sounds like they've got a lot of attention from Thea, and there's like a bunch of other companies that are like, hey, can you do something similar just in a different field or whatever? With other companies, I'm sure, honestly, they can make a lot more money than if they wanted to build a radar detector. And that would be good for their business, good for expanding the business. Redenso has investors. They have to pay back the investors. Thea's taken a while to build, right? I can totally understand them wanting to expand their business. And I don't typically like to get into the corporate side of stuff. That's not my area of expertise. But I do think that kind of stuff is worth thinking about. A lot of people did mention in the comments, like what happens if the government takes over and they want to just, hey, build all of our stuff and we're going to take all of your effort and give you a ton of money, but you're not going to be focusing on the radar detector portion. A lot of people are really concerned about that. I think that's a really valid thing to bring up. Again, I don't know. It could totally happen. I honestly didn't even think about that, but a lot of you guys brought it up, and that's a really fair point. First, last, the delay will make it better. Every company ever that ever had release delays. Yeah, and that's another thing. It's like, okay, if they do have these other government contracts or whatever, they can maybe some of that tech would trickle down to us. That's the optimistic view, right? That like, hey, cool, we've got all this extra stuff that we can do, engineering resources and funding and R&D and that kind of stuff. We can take that, what we've learned, and like also apply it to a consumer radar detector. Awesome. But then there's also the concern of like, okay, are they going to build it in the first place? There was actually I just saw this on the forum by Panamera. I wanted to read this as well. I thought it was a pretty kind of nice summary of a lot of the concerns. It's like 5 points here. So number one, we've moved on to more profitable ventures. Number two, the radar detector division is being separated so that it can be sold off to the highest Chinese bidder. Number three, maybe another manufacturer will someday look to license some of the Theia technology, in which case something like Theia 2 could be released, but don't hold your breath. Number four, we played you in order to get tons of free publicity. Number five, don't expect any more announcements. We've moved on, and so should you. And that, I think, is a good summary of the concerns and take that I've noticed a lot of you guys have had. Yeah, that's actually a pretty common concern. And again, I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know, but I think it's worth kind of talking about different possibilities because who knows what kind of stuff is going to happen. You know, I know a lot of people have been saying, hey, it's vaporware, it's not going to come out. And now there's still doubts and skepticism and all that too. And that's definitely a pretty popular take. Actually, yeah, a big chunk of the comments were actually mentioning something like that. Let's see. What else did I want to mention? The modular stuff. I know there was some discussion about that. And yeah, the modular stuff that they mentioned, that's not really, I don't think, something that we would be using as an end user. Like you buy a radar detector and you're like, hey, I can swap on a different horn or something. Like that's not really what it's for. I mean, I could definitely see that being useful for other products, right? That's the main aspect. So like if they want to build a bunch of stuff that uses this same AI core or whatever it's called with like the Theia brains type stuff, like sure, they could build a bunch of different products and they just plug in different antennas or displays or processors or whatever, and it makes it a lot easier for them to make a bunch of different products, right? That's really common. But for us with radar detectors, let's say they wanted to make kind of a lineup of different detectors, kind of your good, better, best with different features and performance and price points. They could start with something really basic, maybe like a lower end processor or whatever, and then they can make a higher end model where they swap out to a more sensitive horn or a faster processor or pop in Wi-Fi or throw on a better display or whatever else. Like if the easier it is to abstract stuff out and just swap out the components like that, the easier it would be for them to make different models. And I know that's even something that Escort's been working on with a lot of their newer detectors are kind of similar under the hood, the Blackfin stuff. And in theory, it's supposed to make it easier for them to bring an upgrade to BSM filtering or whatever across the lineup to a lot of their higher end detectors. I know there's bugs there, obviously that kind of stuff too, but in theory, just this modular aspect with reusing components, I think that's a big part of it. It just makes it easier to build a variety of products and kind of bring changes across the lineup with different products. So that's the modular stuff. Couple other things that yeah, I know there was DC Fluid was saying how it's rare. Somebody on the forum saying it's rare for like a company to actually bring us, you know, along the process for like development, especially this early in the process. Most companies are very closed off with their discussion for IP reasons, typically, and not wanting to give competitors, you know, an idea as far as what they're doing. It's really rare in this industry for companies to open up and share a behind the scenes look at the development of what they're working on, their thought process. I mean, even after the fact, but especially beforehand. And I love the fact that they did it. To some extent, I think at this point, it's kind of turned around to be an issue. Like the whole no good deed goes unpunished. That seems to be a pretty common concern too. And so I think in that respect, it's kind of unfortunate that, yeah, I mean, they wanted to do this, which I thought was a great idea, but it may not have worked out in the end. I guess that was a risk. And it's a bummer. I mean, again, as somebody who loves learning all the tech stuff, I guess we're going to see more of that with Redenso Labs. But yeah, so that's, I guess, another thing too. And then as far as long-term, realistically, I'm thinking at this point, whatever the reason this is with like Theia not coming out, whether it's chip shortages or whatever other reason there is with development takes time, whatever, right? Government's getting involved or they never allow, whatever it is. We're not going to hear much about Theia 2. And I think realistically, it's probably just best, practically speaking, to move on. Let's look at other stuff. Let's take a look at what we have now, other things that already exist. If Theia comes in the future, awesome. We can take a look at it then. But like, I mean, it's been long enough, you know? So does it sound exciting? Sure. There's a lot of skepticism and hostility and anger. And yeah, DEF CON's like, please no more excuses. And like, yeah, exactly. It's like, just, I mean, if you're going to launch the thing, launch the thing. Like, let's do this. So yeah, so at this point, it's just like, let's just kind of move on. You know, I wanted to do this, like, hey, this is a current thing. Let's talk about it. But moving forward, we've got Uniden, we've got Escort, we've got even Redenso's other detectors. There's Valentine. There's the Stinger S8. That there's not a lot of samples that are out there that people have. I've still been wanting to get a copy of that. I've been talking with them about that recently too. Like, still trying to get an S8 in. I've heard some good things about that one in terms of blind spot filtering, some mixed discussion and stuff, some of the reports online. But I'd really love to take a look at that one to see, you know, like, that's something that exists now. It's very possible that the S8, the S850, the blind spot filtering could actually be even better than anything we have from Redenso, Escort, Valentine, Uniden, you name it, right? Like, that could potentially be better. Is it? I don't know. I haven't tested it. I have seen some good stuff online, but that's something that exists right now. If you want it, you can go to their store and buy it. It's like $2,000, whatever it is, for the Stinger, for just like the basic front-only radar detector antenna. So that's definitely one that I think would be worth testing. The other one, Jimmy Boy, I see your comment. Have you started testing the police detector yet? I have not. They did reach out to me, and I said, hey, you know, I'm going on vacation, holidays, all that kind of stuff, but let me get back to you when I'm back into it. Now that I'm back into the swing of things, I actually emailed them last night, and I'm like, hey, you know, let's take a look at this. This could be another option as well as something interesting of like, hey, you can just detect the police car. I don't have to worry about the radar stuff, and it works if it's instant on. Boom, okay, you can pick them up even if they're not transmitting radar. I have no idea how well it works. I've seen some videos or some discussion online. They've been starting to send out stuff. If you're interested, you can hop onto the forums. There's a whole section dedicated to the police detector. But this is another, I think, pretty interesting thing too that exists right now that you can go get right now, that you can get installed in your car right now. No waiting for the delays, right? Like, this is another thing we can get right now. So I reached out to them and I'm like, hey, let's do it. You know, go ahead and send one over. Probably not going to be for a couple weeks that I'll be able to like get to it, right? But that's something. All right, let's do it. Maybe the first video would be like, hey, here's all the components. Here's an overview of what it's like. I'm going to go ahead and install it on my car. Here's a look at what the installation process is like. And then maybe I'll drive past a police station or something just so that we can trigger alert. We can see what it's like. I can confirm that it works. Hopefully it works. And then I'll just kind of drive around with it for a while and start collecting sample footage to eventually be able to do a full review and share my experiences and whatnot. I know with that one, there's a lot of testing that's being done that does have to be trained to detect the emissions from a lot of different police cars from around the country. And so it's not like you can just buy it and it's going to automatically work in the whole country right now. So they're doing a lot of beta testing and development to get it trained up on detecting all the stuff around the country. So that's also still kind of earlier in the process in that respect. It's not like if you wanted to go to a cannonball, it's ready for you to just drive cross country and it's going to pick up everything everywhere. You know, it's not there. But in terms of like something else that I think is pretty cool and interesting and a new approach for this kind of thing, that's a pretty cool thing too. And that exists now. So I'd like to get one of those in. If any of you guys are interested, hop on the forums. There's a whole section of the forum just for the police detector. So that I think is also something that's worth checking out. That again is already available now. We don't have to wait however long for it to come out if it comes out, right? So despite whatever is going on with Thea and all the drama associated with it, it's just like, let's move on. There's other stuff that we can take a look at too. So, I mean, as much as I love the tech and all the underlying stuff, it's like, realistically, it's only so long you can wait, you know? So I'm definitely going to keep up with the Redenso Lab stuff. And if you guys, if you're interested, you can take a look at that too. We'll see what's going on with their new thing once they're ready to announce that. But in the meantime, it's like, all right, let's do it. We've got other stuff that's available. Let's focus on that, you know? So I think that's probably going to be the plan here and what makes the most sense moving forward. But with Thea, if you guys are asking, if you just joined the live stream, not really any news, just a lot of concern of like, is the thing going to come out? Is it just more vaporware, more hype? What if the government takes over? Are they going to be able to release it? There's just a lot of speculation and concern. And I mean, I'd love to like sit down with Redenso and we can talk about this stuff, but I know they don't really want to discuss anything as far as Thea, especially publicly. Totally their call, totally valid choice, you know? So it's not like we've got a ton of information. And so otherwise we're just sitting here speculating and wondering and doing our best to predict the future. And none of us have a crystal ball, but I think it's good to discuss some of these possibilities and options. So yeah. So anyways, with that said, Let's see. Scrolling back through it, Thea got leaked when it did. Thea didn't actually get leaked. That was their choice to announce it at SEMA in 2019. They didn't expect the COVID stuff and all the issues as far as what they told, but I mean, they were ready. They had paid for the booth there. They had all the displays set up. I mean, with like all the big banners. They had displays for the equipment and the display to show like all the radar detectors being detected. Like that wasn't a leak. That was intended to be shared with the public. So, yeah. Let's see, concerns of like, does the chip shortage thing make sense? Engineering resources. Other questions about like unit detectors and whatnot. We'll get to that later. I really want to focus on Thea stuff here in the beginning, and then we'll kind of move on to other stuff. As far as like I can see, should I get an R4 or V1 Gen 2? Like we can talk about that kind of stuff later. I'm happy to, but let's focus on Thea. Let's see. Some stuff about FPGAs, TSMCs. Let's see. A lot of people saying, honestly, I don't even care anymore. That's a common concern too. I guess, yeah, we only have so much patience, and excitement and enthusiasm can only last so long, you know? So that's, I think, a really common thing too. Let's see. I've been waiting for Thea to update my current detector. If I buy something else a week later, Thea will be released. If that's the case, Wade, could you just buy something else and then Thea will be released and then we can all enjoy it and you can buy Thea too, and like it's a week. If it comes out a week later, you'll be able to return your other detector and then just buy Thea, so you get your money back. So if you can control Thea's release by buying something else, do that. Let's see. Brand Theron, I was pleased to see the update on Thea last night. It's good for their continued existence that they're continuing to expand into more than just radar detectors. I'm sad, but I understand not getting new detailed videos. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat there. Let's see. Bluetooth stuff, more vaporware stuff. Yeah. So what else are you guys wondering about too? Let's see. Kind of going. Didn't get a heads up on the video. So I did let them know that I was going to be doing a video. I'd kind of talked to them a little bit behind the scenes and was just like, hey, are you guys going to be releasing anything? Is there anything that you're going to be sharing soon? I do want to do a video as far as like sharing my thoughts on just the whole thing in general, right? I'd been hoping that we would get like a good concrete video, because in the comments, whenever you guys ask for the live streams, I'm like, sorry, no news. And I was hoping that like we would get something concrete. But eventually I'm just like, dude, I gotta share something. I think you guys deserve an update, right? Especially considering how much I've been talking about it before. I mean, yeah, obviously you can see like they've been working on other stuff as well. It looks like other stuff, not just Thea, but other things too. So they've definitely had their hands full, and I'm really glad they've taken the time now to share that. The timing, I wasn't expecting for like me to release my video and then they would immediately release theirs after. That was kind of funny to see that timing, and that was why I was like, oh man, I just put the kids down. Like, let's share my reaction and thoughts. This is just happening, and now we're live streaming. So like, that wasn't a planned thing to go back and forth or anything, but I'm glad to see that like they're working on stuff and they want to talk about that and share whatever the new thing is, and also mention a Thea update. It makes sense. It's like to at least mention Thea if you're going to be announcing something new. But anyway, DEF CON, let's see. I'm just a potential customer. I warned them from their initial Thea presentation that they were overselling. Look what happened. Yeah, I think a lot of people were saying that too. And that's a really common thing that I've been seeing, I guess, especially in hindsight. You're like, oh, I don't know, but I guess taking risks in life, go for it, may pay off or not. Let's see. Tennessee Jeff, nothing less to talk about with Thea. I'll move on. I think that's where a lot of people are. I guess we'll have to see what happens with the Rodenso Lab stuff. That could be interesting on if you're just interested in engineering and radar in general. Hopefully that's going to be something cool. But as far as Thea specifically, they said explicitly, we're not going to be talking about that. We're going to be going silent. So I guess we'll kind of have to see talking about other stuff. AI neural networks. Something I've been wondering. I just learned recently there is a difference between AI and machine learning. Like you can have something with artificial intelligence that doesn't rely on machine learning. Do any of you guys know about that? I've been Googling some resources, but I haven't found anything that's super easy to use. Maybe that would be something good to ask ChatGPT. Like, hey, what's the difference and how does this work? And explain it to me like I'm 5. But yeah, that's something I've been learning just in this whole discussion of AI and machine learning and what is AI and, what constitutes AI, especially when you separate out machine learning, what's not. I kind of used them interchangeably, and it turns out that's not the case. And so it is possible to actually do AI without relying on machine learning. But what that is exactly, I don't know. So if any of you guys have a good resource or something about that, Let me know. I'd like to learn about that. Snurtyo, why no review of the A139 Pro yet? On vacation, that kind of stuff. It's on the list. It's actually one of the next things I wanted to get into. I've got 2 of them in my car and a third one sitting over here on the bench. So that's definitely something I want to get into, talking about like Starvis 2 first and then A139 Pro specifically. So that would kind of be like 2 separate videos. And then video quality comparisons and stuff. Definitely took me, speaking of delays, took me way longer than expected in between like the first one that I had, pre-production unit, had some weird stuff going on. Then they sent me out a retail one, and then I bought another retail one, and it's just been kind of a weird thing. So yeah, I wanted to get that done a long time ago, but just stuff happened and it took me longer. So that's a good example of something I really want to do that taking me way longer than expected. So I'm really sorry it's taken me this long. But yeah, A139 Pro is definitely on the list of things I want to work on in the very near future. So let's see. Other stuff. Marketing plan for Thea. Yeah, the conspiracy. So good marketing plan for them to talk about Thea and build up the anticipation. I mean, I guess that does get into like speculation / conspiracy theory stuff. Is like, did they just want to launch it just for the sake of maybe moving into other stuff and building up the hype that could lead to other contracts and stuff? Or, I mean, I don't think so. I don't know for sure. Some of the guys in the comments are even like, Vortex, you're naive and all this kind of stuff, which could be true too. I don't know. But either way, I'm happy to share, like, here's what we're seeing so far. Here's the best information that we have at hand. Do with it what you will, come to your own conclusions. But like, yeah, I'm just glad we all get to like discuss this and learn about it together, So Rob Spector, machine learning and AI are effectively synonymous in the current parlance. Folks who are serious about it and not doing generalized models refer to it as ML. AI is usually the moniker to ML that's intended to generalize across problem domains. Can you give me an example, like maybe I know some of the older stuff I was reading of how AI was released before ML, like what would something look like if it's relying on AI but not using ML for the training? Like how would that work? Let's see, that's something I'm wondering about. DEF CON, listen to their 7-minute video and watch the body language. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a psychotherapist. What was your take, I guess, before I give you my take on that? But with the body language, like, did they seem, I don't know, guarded? Like, what were your takes, I guess, and just reactions watching the video, I kind of wonder, like, it probably wasn't something they were super, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Just speculation. I'm trying to read into it and stuff, but let's see. TJB, you have to train it unless it's doing repetitive tasks. Okay, so I guess coming back, can you give me an example of something that you can do training without the ML, but still relies on AI? Like, what would that look like? That case specifically is something that I'm curious about, just to help me better understand like how AI functions without relying on the ML for the training. So that's something I wondered about. And then while you guys are commenting, I guess moving on to some other stuff. Some comments as far as like the Blackview dash cams. There are some new ones that were announced at CES. I've updated the article on my website, by the way. It's on the front page. You can just go there and click on the Blackview one. I don't have them yet. I've asked them for it. And they're like, yeah, we definitely want to send you samples. Basically, there's new dash cams, like the DR900X is being replaced by the 970. Same sensor, same lens. It's not Starvis 2. But new CPU and new processing. So better video quality, looks like better dynamic range and stuff. They do have some samples that they shared that you can go watch now to see the video quality differences. The 750 is being replaced by the 770 with same thing, new CPU, new software processing. And there's also going to be a 4K LTE version. So like the 750 LTE Plus, there's now going to be, well, the newer CPU version of that. And there's going to be a 4K version too. So finally, 4K with LTE built in. So that's really cool. So the 970X LTE, it's going to be called. And then kind of some like cool with main box type stuff with like smaller little 3-channel individual cameras. So if you don't want the main brains on the windshield, you want a separate box tucked under your seat or something, kind of like a motorcycle style dash cam. They're building something like that as well, the 770 box. So it's much smaller front dash cam. And then the memory card and the brains and all that stuff is like in a separate box. So kind of cool ideas. I'd love to take a look at it, just do some videos. But yeah, you can already check that out. It's on the website if you want to learn a little bit more about it. From ChatGPT. Oh, thanks, Ryan, for referencing that. Machine learning is a specific approach to AI that involves training algorithms on data so that they can make predictions or decisions without being explicitly programmed. Yes, that's the machine learning part. What about the specific approach to AI. So I guess, yeah, what are other approaches to AI that don't involve the machine learning training part? Let's see. I'm getting some good stuff here this is fun. Yeah. In the chat. I do at some point want to get it set up. Like I've been wanting to do this for a while to get the chat to actually like, where is it? Over here somewhere, like show up on screen so you guys can see that too, and not have to look over. So let's see. Blah, blah, blah. AI is a very general term. ML is a more specific technique. Think detecting police versus radar detector or laser jamming. There were very primitive AIs, Rob is saying, from the 80s and 90s that did not have training. But what ML and AI describe now are neural networks that learn from training data. So yeah, some discussions about ML. I'm just really curious about the AI stuff. Phoenix, does it make sense to you that they designed Theia 1 and 2 and have a new product based on Theia 2 before Theia 1 or 2 is released or finished? Makes no sense to me. Yeah, it's definitely a strange situation. I mean, it just sounds like they couldn't build Theia 1, believe them or not, right? Couldn't build Theia 1, had to come out with new parts. And as they're redesigning it, maybe they just figured, hey, it's a lot more lucrative to focus on these other projects. It's a lot more, maybe the margins would be a lot higher. Maybe they can get funding for it a lot sooner. Because like how many of us would be like, hey, I want Theia. I'll buy it now. I'll pay for it, but I'll wait indefinitely for it to come out. Maybe with other grants, they can get the money up front or they can get money sooner, which is nice, especially for something that's, I don't know. Just thinking aloud, right? I have no inside information here. But it's possible. Maybe if they're rebuilding it, they wanted to make it more modular, they can build other stuff too, and maybe start building some other stuff first that could help them expand their business, or they could get paid sooner or make more money or something. So, I mean, that's a possibility, right? And in the process, coming out with a newer version of Theia too. Rocky Mountain all the way. Cobra, as a developer myself, I was convinced Theia was never coming when no production intent prototypes were shown and no testing results were posted. It's clear it was never finished. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's part of, releasing stuff super early. Bummer. That happens. It happens. It's unfortunate. It happens. A lot of you guys have seen this kind of stuff, even more examples of that kind of stuff than I have. So I don't know. Indiegogo vibes. Yeah, that's true. A lot of the stuff on Indiegogo and what was the other one? Like not GoFundMe, but Kickstarter. Those kind of things happen. Let's see, Gabe. They could have at least done an on-road demo video. They had a prototype at SEMA and could have put it in a box and a dashboard. That's true. They could have at some point had some prototype, maybe something a little bit more concrete while they were doing their development and research. To be like, hey, we're detecting this, or we're detecting multi-radar or something. But I know it sounds like they just really didn't want to share a lot of stuff, which I guess when we're in the dark, we're all sitting here speculating, like, could they really do it? How much could they do or not? Is it vaporware? Did they build something? Did they ever have working prototypes? But because they haven't shared it, we're all kind of left in the dark wondering. Coming back to the AI stuff, Ryan Davis. In other words, AI is the concept of building machines that can perform tasks that normally require human intelligence. And machine learning is a specific method for achieving AI. So if AI is the concept of building machines that can perform tasks that normally require human intelligence, what's a simple, like, where's the threshold between a computer that's just doing normal algorithms that you build, whatever, and at what point is there a task that requires human intelligence to say we've gone from traditional algorithms to AI, not machine learning, but like where is that threshold with like these types of tasks are AI? Let's see. Run Riot. The point being there aren't popular alternatives to machine learning at this time to achieve AI. Yeah, I get that. I guess it's part of why it's so confusing. It's like everybody's using machine learning for AI, and so now you kind of use them interchangeably, even though they're not exactly the same thing. And I think that's part of what's kind of leading to some of this confusion on the terminology standpoint. Let's see. AI stuff, developers. Yeah. So here we go. TJB. CAPTCHAs are a form of learning. I guess that's true. I mean, yeah, they're actually doing kind of machine learning. You basically say, here's the thing, like, this is valid, this is yes, this is no. And then the computer figures out on it by itself, like why this is a correct answer, why that's an incorrect answer. You don't have to say, well, computer, go look at this or look at that aspect of it. The computer just figures out the why, like the how, but you do have to give it like good data to feed in for the ML part. See a lot of stuff. TJB again. I wouldn't be surprised if Redenso were to be bought out or sold Thea. That can happen. It's a possibility. I mean, it could happen. Yeah, I guess if they do get bought out or like sell off this portion, I guess that could happen. I wonder, because I know they started as radar detector company. That's what got their start. They are radar detector enthusiasts, driving enthusiasts. So it would be weird to be like, hey, we're going to go do all this other stuff that may or may not be related to driving and freedom and all that kind of stuff. And we're just going to sell out the radar detector part because it makes more money that way. So I wonder from a passion standpoint, would they want to hold on to it and really get to it? I hope they do. But again, I don't know, right? Just thinking aloud here. Let's see, Pictum. Even my intro to AI class forever ago was mainly just regular algorithms. Things like finding the shortest path or the best move in a game. That makes sense. What made it AI though, when you were like designing those algorithms? Were you using machine learning for the computer to figure out how to determine those best paths? Or like, would you come up with that algorithm yourself? Or like, how did that work? Even in those kind of like simple examples. Let's see. Lou Ritter, out of my sphere. Friend said Raspberry Pi into a radar detector. It's like an Arduino board. I don't know if Raspberry Pi is like fast enough and capable enough. I've got one over there running as like a Bitcoin node in my garage. Like they're cool. You can do all sorts of projects with the Raspberry Pi. Do you have another one sitting over here? Maybe in the drawer, I've got another one. But yeah, it's a simple computer that you can use for like basic tasks. It's a small one. They're really popular to like make little homebrew projects of like monitoring the weather or seeing somebody like built a lightning node for financial transactions and stuff, another Bitcoin thing. But for what they're wanting to do, you need a lot more horsepower than something like a Raspberry Pi. Run Riot, you would need a serious DSP to handle the kind of frequencies that radar detectors deal with. Raspberry Pi DSP is pretty limited. Exactly. Lou Ritter, friend said that what's happening to Thea 2 equals Raspberry Pi. That's a very simplistic way to think about it. I mean, Redenso's building their own thing, but it's much more powerful than what the Raspberry Pi is. But it can do some similar stuff. That is true. Let's see, Ask Hack, RTL SDR and the oscillator from all the STI magnums we have laying around. Are you guys, Ask Hack, are you building something with like radar detector components and LOs and stuff put onto a Raspberry Pi and just like building something? Or yeah, fun projects, what are you working on? Someone's at the front door. Oh, UPS just arrived. Cool. I think a new case for my phone. It broke when we were on vacation. It's a little, the phone fell and took the impact. Thank you. So got a new case, just showed up. But anyway, Ask Hack. So let's see. I was curious if it would be a homebrew Thea. It doesn't have the power to do it. You can of course build your own simplistic device or something. Like those. Yeah, for $3.50, like the Batman detector. I mean, those are really simple hardware. It's like, sure, you could do it. BMD number 1, just got the notification. Is Thea finally on the market? No, just Redenso yesterday. They announced they're redesigning Thea, new components, new chips that they can get. So it's going to be called Thea 2, but no ETA, no price, no availability. They're not going to talk about it. Just a mini update flash, not really a ton of information. So yeah. That said, I'm glad that we do have something so that, because people have been asking for years, it's been weird since we used to have so much information of like Thea, all this kind of stuff, but then no updates. And I'm glad that we have something more concrete, something to discuss, or like I can point you guys to or whatever. So it's been very weird to like have no information, you know? The whole thing is just a weird situation. But anyway, I guess that's kind of a lot of the Thea stuff that I wanted to talk about. And we've been going for like half an hour here. So I guess if you guys want, we can keep talking about Thea and AI and ML. I'd love to do that. And we can also just kind of move on to some other topics. Like I know some of you guys were asking about like R4 versus V1. Very different detectors. I mean, both good, but very different detectors. My gosh. Grab some real quick and talk about them. All right, let's see. Oh, no, my R4 is out of testing. my R4 and Max 360C Mark II I sent out to some guys in Florida. They're going to be testing with it this weekend, so I don't have it. But V1, I mean, you got your arrows, some KA falsing, but really good range. No photo radar stuff. But the Bluetooth stuff with JBV1 is phenomenal. So that's been like a big appeal here, plus the arrows and stuff. The R4, no arrows. Lower price point. It's like, what, $350, $380 or something? So it costs less, but you do give up the arrows, which is a big one. Has Bluetooth, but still not activated. And that's only going to work with highway radar. You're not going to get like full-on JBV1 capabilities. But you do have GPS built in. You've got photo radar detection built in. So, I mean, choose whatever recipe of features and whatever that works best for you and just go get the detector. But the V1, excellent detector, one of the best out there. R4, excellent detector, one of the best out there. It's funny, I have noticed over the years, people have accused me of working for different companies. I've been accused of working for Escort, especially I used to have like the original red line in my intro to the videos. Been accused of working for ALP because I'm like, hey, they're the best jammer. Redenso with the Thea, had people accusing me of working for them for that. Uniden, because I recommend their stuff so much and I like it personally. Valentine, when I was doing like Yavi1, that was the first time I really got my hands dirty with like getting to be an active contributor and part of a project. So it was super fun doing all the Yavi1 stuff. People figured, oh, you must work for V1. You like that. That's your favorite detector at the time. Like I was even saying in the comments, somebody brought this up and they were like, by the end of my career here, whenever that's going to be with all the YouTube stuff, I wonder how many companies people are going to accuse me of working for. And it's almost like the YouTuber bingo card, getting accused of working for every single manufacturer at some point over the years. There's probably some like K40 and Cobra and stuff. People are never going to accuse me of working for them because I never put them at like the top of my list and stuff. But as far as like all the good companies, it almost becomes like a joke or something at this point. So anyway, fun thing. Let's see. BMD number 1. Will the Bluetooth app for the V1 indicate the direction? Yes. The directional information does get reported through the app. And so you can see the arrows and stuff in the app as well. If you're running JPV1 or V1 Companion or V1 Driver or V1 or V1 Connection or whatever it is. Like, yeah, the detector reports the direction. And so whatever app can read that and display it. Phoenix. My vibe from Redenso was that they got some government contracts and basically they realized that Thea proper is their lowest priority at this point. I think you may very well be right. And as much as that would suck for us, I think that's justifiable on their end if that's what they're going to do. Whether it's more profitable, get more money, there's maybe less dealing with the radar detector trolls online, like whatever it is, It does seem like that's the priority. I could be wrong. I don't know. But yeah, it seems like a lot of people, that's kind of their read from Redenso and what they were sharing. So, Yosvani, will you be reviewing the updated international R7 firmware? Yes, thank you for reminding me. I still need to do that. I still got my Spectres over there. Was wanted to do the test at least for that, but this time of year it was rainy and stuff. So yes, I definitely want to do that. It's like R7 1.50, Starvis 2 for the A139, A139 Pro review, and then new Blackview dash cams coming. And I've got some dash cam battery packs over here. The new Blackview one, the new ThinkWare one, the new Black Box My Car one. Those are sitting over there. I've been my power supply. So it's just, and then R9 whenever that comes out, and then the police detector, and then hopefully new Stinger S8. And but yes, at the top of the list are things like R7 1.50 and the Starvis 2 with the A139 for sure. Those are things I really want to get to sooner. I've been glad I'm knocking out like, hey, cool and updated or interesting radar detectors is done. Thea was an unexpected thing. Did that one. Coming back with like the Escort firmware updates. I'm glad to get that one followed up on. Really trying to get a video editor at this point. I had a meeting this morning with another video editor. There's 2 more that I'm talking to. So just really trying to like help me with the editing part because like there's so much stuff I want to test, but making the videos is unbelievably time consuming. So definitely want to get more of the testing and videos and stuff to share with you, but like I'm at the point where I need help getting the videos cranked out sooner and faster. Maybe I'll just like start doing more articles instead because that's much quicker to do than a video. And I love the videos. What can I say? I really do. So TJB video request. Tips and processes for testing whether a radar detector falses to my radar detector during a test drive. You mean like if you're running 2 detectors at the same time? Is that what you're asking? Yeah, I mean, usually just don't run 2 detectors, and even if, like, they don't false each other, we still see a number of other issues as well with, like, delayed alerts and missed alerts and just funky stuff. So even if you're running 2 detectors that aren't triggering each other to false, that does not mean that they're running okay. That's a really common thing that I see. People think, "Oh, I'm running 2 detectors, and they're not falsing, so everything must be honky dory." And you're like, "No, no, 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 not the case." Um, so, okay. Coming back to that, TJB. No, sorry. I meant when buying a new car. Been a long day. Maybe the easiest thing, I've done this like I think went to a Mazda dealership or something. Basically take your detector and turn off all the K-band filtering. Try putting it on the windshield or something and see, like, if you're sitting in a parking lot with no K-band transmitters around, no door openers from the dealership or restaurants across the street or whatever, like, try to get to an area with no other sources and, like, put the detector in your car. It can sometimes have an issue depending on the car. Maybe it only happens at speed and whatnot. You could try it. I know there's some people who've like had some luck with uniteds. Maybe you turn down the rear K-band sensitivity to deal with the falses coming out of your own Mazda. I've seen some workarounds like that, but a lot of it's just kind of testing. Take the thing with you and see if you get like repeated alerts with no other K-band sources around. So Phoenix, did I hear you mention something about a motorcycle dash cam? Always looking for a decent one. That was in the context of one of Blackview's new dash cams, the 770X box, not Xbox, 770 box, whatever it is. Basically, it's like the main brain for the dash cam. It's a box that goes under your dash like a motorcycle dash cam does. And then you just have like small dash cams for just the cameras, and in that case, like a speaker and a microphone, but basically just the camera and lens. It goes to the windshield and interior and rear window. So smaller, like normal cameras. But no, didn't talk about motorcycle stuff. That's not something I test. VFO makes one, Blue Sea Sky, Thinkware. Haven't tested them, just not my thing, but hopefully somebody else does. Let's see. Run Riot. I think you can define a K block for Mazda with R7 150. You can. That's pretty cool. They do have 5 K blocks, and one of them is specifically for 24 123 to 24 124. So that range. Yeah, pretty cool option. Let's see. Ride for Life, Fit for Life. Cool name. I'm getting the Blackview 750 LTE installed with the Blackview battery. Do you already have it? If you haven't bought it already, they're about to release the 770 LTE, which is going to have better video quality. So just a heads up, like if you already have it, cool. But the new one is coming, already announced, not available yet. It's, I think, in the spring. It's supposed to come out. So that's an option. There's some nice upgrades and stuff. But as far as tips for using the cloud storage system, not really. Just make sure the battery has power. Connect to it from your app. There's weird things with the Blackview app sometimes. Like if you want to connect to your computer and your phone, you can't do that at the same time. You have to log out of one device. Or like if you're connected on your phone, when you go to connect on the computer, it's like another device is connected. And you have to like force your phone to log out so you can use a computer. There's some stupid little quirks like that. But otherwise, not really tips and tricks, I guess. Daniel, what's the best 3-channel current dash cam to have currently? I'd like to say the A139 Pro. There have been some weird issues, and this, I guess, kind of gets back to the next question. I can see Jesse Gibbs. Will the VFO dash cam parking mode drain the car battery if I leave it sitting all week without driving it? Normally, no, because, yes, there is a voltage cutoff. Something sitting here. I don't know if I have everything still kind of connected or not, but yeah, everything's still wired together. But yeah, you basically have a little box and it just monitors the voltage. And if the voltage drops too far, it cuts off the dash cam so it doesn't drain your battery too far, and you can still start the car next time. That said, I have the A139 in my wife's car, and I've heard other people also having issues where sometimes I guess the cutoff doesn't work properly, and you run into issues with dead batteries. It's happened to us several times with her car. I've heard other people having that issue as well. So there may be some kind of bug with the A139 specifically, with the voltage cutoff not working properly. But in theory, it's supposed to work fine. Another option is to get like a dedicated dash cam battery pack, so you're not even tapping into your car battery at all. More expensive, but a lot of advantages. I prefer that. I'm going to put one of these batteries when I finish testing into her car to avoid some of these issues. But yeah, that way battery recharges while you drive, and then once you stop driving, the battery powers your dash cam. So that's, I think, the better way to go a lot of times. But yeah, there's also, I've been hearing a couple bugs, some reports here with the A139. The pros, there's some stuff on the forums you can look online. Some people are reporting some issues. So as I start getting more into like my research and getting ready to do the review, I'll share some of that stuff. And I've been talking to VFO about it too. But yeah, Tesla Sentry mode for the win. Yes and no. I mean, I know I did a video about that recently, actually. I'd be curious. Mechani, how do you pronounce it? Mechanica? Hopefully one of those are correct. I did a video with like coolest and most interesting dash cams. We had a section on the Tesla Sentry Mode one. I'd be curious to hear your take on like how that stuff is, some of the pros and cons and what you like, what you don't like, just kind of your experience. I haven't tested it myself. I know Joseph in the video, they've got a bunch of like Model 3s that they tested it with. So I'm curious to hear your take as well with like the Sentry Mode stuff. Phoenix, I'm ready for a dash cam that lets me select what server I want footage uploaded to so that I can use my own server. That could be cool. I don't know if anybody gives you that level of complexity. Usually they want to like simplify it for the users, right? So just upload to the cloud and it just works, right? But something where you can, if you have like your own FTP server or SFTP or just whatever, I don't know. There could be, if you want the local thing, I know there's ways to like have, when you get home, I also covered that in the recent video of like all your footage can be offloaded from the dash cam through your home Wi-Fi to your NAS or something. There's ways of doing that. So you can have it all go to your own server. If you want to roll your own local storage or something, like that's an option too. Cobra Kai, what's up? Good to see you. And then for some of you guys, I can see in the chat, like trying to ask the same questions over and over. If you want, like you can always do the super chat thing. I know there's a lot of questions that go by. I can't get to everybody as much as I want to. And so if you do the super chat thing, it does make it like flash on my screen and I'll make sure that I get to that too. So let's see. Lou, I have to go. Now that we're past Thea, do you have any thoughts on why the Max 360C seems to be less popular than the Redline 360C or the Mark II? Less performance, paying higher in price, and you're getting kind of like mid-range performance. Plus, there were some issues with that series of detectors occasionally sleeping and not alerting properly to legitimate radar. It's a different alert than we're seeing with like the Mark II and the Redline, or different issue rather. But they're, I mean, it's just, you're like, if you're spending $650, okay, we'll go spend $750 or whatever it is for the Redline, $799 now, I forget. It's like, go for the Redline, the better performance and the stealth and all the photo radar stuff and the latest and greatest, right? A lot of people at this point, if you're going to spend that, like spend a little bit more. So I think that was a common issue too. But yeah, the Max 360C, it wasn't bad per se. I mean, I run it in my wife's car, K-band turned off. The other one I would run in my mom's car. Like I'm running them, I'm using them, right? It's not just a video background prop like most of my detectors. So for what it's worth, but like, yeah, it's just not as popular as like the Mark II or the Redline 360C for those reasons. Brand Theron, what's up? Love to see some more connectivity improvements for dash cams. I've got a U1000, but I don't have Wi-Fi in my car since I haven't found a good option that works for me and uses Verizon. Yeah, I've been seeing, for simplicity's sake, like little USB sticks that are like MiFi dongles, basically, that plug into like a battery pack or whatever, and then give you an in-car Wi-Fi that your ThinkWare dash cam could connect to. I've still been looking for a really good one. I even want one myself to replace my OBD2 dongle thing that I'm using in my car that's a little unreliable. So I've been looking for one as well. But yeah, if you can find something like that, that could be a good option. Jesse, hey, Jesse, thank you for that super chat. I appreciate that. It's very cool. Let's see. R2, Unit and R9 ETA. They told us spring. That's all we know. But there's, who knows, Unit and lockouts and Unit and control pad and Unit and Bluetooth for R4 and R8. Like, there's reasons that stuff gets delayed, but like, since we're on a video talking about Thea, like, man, I don't know what this stuff. So they told us spring. That's what we know. Hopefully it comes out in the spring. I do this. Camera exposure goes weird, I guess, blocking out the light. That's funny. But yeah, officially, latest we know is spring. Matthew, is there an app that integrates my Redline 360C with navigation apps? Unfortunately, no. It's a limitation from Apple and Google. They're very restrictive on which apps can actually show up on CarPlay and Android Auto. The only workarounds that I've seen are if you use like some sort of Android Auto that allows you to mirror your phone screen or something kind of like that. You can display the Escort app and then have that mirrored to your Android Auto display. But by default, typically, no. Cobra Kai, hey, thank you for that super chat. Going forward, what do you think Redenso should do to regain the confidence that many have lost, that they have lost in the eyes of many? That is a good question. Like, okay, what can they do that's productive that would help? I'll share my thoughts, but if you guys in the chat share, maybe we can brainstorm about this too. What could they do? Deliver on your promises first and foremost. We've been waiting long enough, and release Thea, release it and have it be awesome. And people will still give them a hard time for the delays and whatnot, but just like release the stupid thing. Yeah, same thing you're saying. Release Thea finally. I mean, enough promises. Like, we all give them the benefit of the doubt, as nice as we want to do all that kind of stuff, but like release the thing and have it live up to expectations. I get there's going to be delays. May not be able to control it. Cool, whatever. But like, yeah, to regain the confidence, execute and deliver on your promises, I guess is really what it comes down to. So, Vortex, you're so mean. You told them to keep their word. Maybe. I don't know. Like, promise you deliver it. Keep your promise. I don't know. Okay, coming back to Tesla Sentry mode. Or Lou. See you, Lou. Thanks for joining us here on the live stream. Mechanica. So Tesla Sentry mode. It's always on. 4 camera angles. So front, rear, and the B pillars. Very little impact on range, even when parked for a week. Oh, that's good. Which model do you have? Access to all the cameras from the mobile app. That's cool. And can use the 2 terabyte SSD in the glove box. I guess the integration component is definitely nicer than going for like an aftermarket dash cam that you have to like stick on and run your own cables and stuff. So the integration part is nice. And the 2 terabyte SSD, that's pretty cool. I know most dash cams are limited to like 512 gigs. So going 4 times bigger, that's cool. The video quality, I know that was a concern from like the sample videos. I think it's like a 1.2 megapixel sensor or something. I've heard rumors that like they're going to be stepping up to an 8 megapixel sensor and they're supposed to have better video quality. But video quality wise, how do you like the Tesla? Like, can you read plates and see faces and see details, or is it mostly just to see like what's going on around you and stuff? Let's see. Cobra Kai, thanks for the answer. Yeah, it looks like we were on the same page with what can Redenso do for their reputation. Phoenix is saying, release Thea would be a start. Yes. Or just tell us the truth. Stop saying that they won't talk about it. I guess that's what if they are telling us the truth, but nobody believes them? Maybe they're not telling the truth and they've been lying to us. That's a possibility too. So I don't know if them telling us the truth, and I put it in quotes because like, even if they tell us, who's going to believe them? I mean, there's still people who doubt them regardless, right? So I don't know if people are already questioning their, what's the word, integrity or whatever the word is, like you got to deliver on it. It's not about what you say, it's about what you do, right? So I think communication is definitely a good start, but releasing it, I think, would really be what it would take, you know? Mechanica. I have the S Plaid, Y Performance, and a Base 3. 3 Teslas. That's cool. Let's see. So yeah, video quality though. Do you like the Tesla videos? R2. Has Redenso been silent on RDF also? They did leave. Yeah, so they're not active on RDF anymore. They've stopped posting there, just like they have with their videos. They've gone silent, so we don't have any good like public information the way we used to, which was awesome. For better or for worse, justified or not, yeah, they've gone silent there too. Eugene, how do I send super chat? There should be an option in YouTube for you to be able to do that. Yeah, there should be an option if you're looking on the app or on the browser or something for you to be able to send it. Let's see, can I do this? Oh, I can highlight a message. Yeah, I can see it. Okay, cool. Boom. So yeah, there's like a little box with like a dollar icon or something. That's what it looks like, at least on my end. I think it's the same for you. Mechanica, Tesla video quality is passable. I got the plate of someone who hit my car and ran, so good enough. It's not amazing, but reliability is awesome and it's always on. Yeah, and that whole video quality thing is like such a thing, and I'm definitely a big contributor of like, you gotta have good video quality and 4K and do all the license plate freeze frame tests and stuff. So like I'm a part of that too. I can get it, but like I've been wondering a lot lately, like how important that is. If most of the time you're just needing to see what happened or just to capture the details, like you don't want a full on potato cam, but you still need like good enough video quality. So I don't know if we need like freezing the plate of every car driving by, driving the opposite direction at night, at low light in the rain. Like, awesome, but like realistically, kind of what do we need? So capturing the plate of somebody who hits your car and then runs, probably going to get that plate. But yeah, even with dash cams that aren't like the greatest video quality ever, they can still definitely do the job and get you what you need. So I've been thinking about that a lot too. Cobra Kai. Click the dollar box on the right for the super chat thing. Yeah. Let's see. Brand Theron. It seems like from your recent video with Black Box My Car that Sentry Mode is good for parking issue, but you can do better quality for driving with a dedicated camera. Yeah. I don't have a Tesla. I can't tell you from experience. I know that was one of the things. I also wonder about some of the extra features. Like, does Tesla do all the like voice notifications and the cloud stuff? And like the parking mode, I think you do get like buffered parking mode and stuff. I'm curious how that works. I think it's the future. We're probably going to see more and more cars with dash cams built in to the point where maybe at some point nobody's going to need a built-in one, or maybe it's only a very specialized one for whatever reason. But I mean, the aftermarket stuff is advancing faster than the integrated ones. But at some point, excuse me, that's a possibility. We may not even need dash cams at all. Let's see. Okay, great. Been a V1 Gen 2 in Canada, and the app is so nice. I like it much more than the Redline 360C. Yeah, that app is awesome. Cobra Kai. I've got a V1 Gen 2 also, and it was great too. But then I got an iPhone and traded it for a DS1 and some cash. Yeah. I know. I wish there was a JBV1 for iOS or something. Like, it may not be as fully featured because of some of the restrictions that Apple has on what iPhone apps can do and whatnot. But like, man, it's a great app. It'd be nice to not have to rely on second phones or all this kind of stuff for iPhone users. And yeah. V1 G3 will happen before Thea 2. I wonder what that's going to look like. I mean, speculation, but like, would Mike, let's say that's in 20 years, would Mike V still be making radar detectors in 20 years? Maybe. I mean, like, he's probably going to retire at some point, right? He's had a long career making detectors for decades now, 3 decades more with detectors. So I don't know how long it's going to be until the V1 Gen 3 comes out. But yeah, what would that look like with, I don't know, photo radar if that's needed? I don't know. But yeah, whatever it would be like with the V1 Gen 3. Brand Theron, I do know in Japan you can buy some dash cams as official accessories and some Hondas, which are well integrated. So hopefully we can see some more of that in US cars. Yeah, there are some that you can do. I think like Minis and BMWs, Audis have options. They're not as good as like aftermarket ones. They're kind of overpriced for what they are. I definitely don't want the Audi branded one. But yeah, there are options that you can do that. I remember talking to a dash cam manufacturer. I think it was at like SEMA, and they were saying how in Korea, like, it's extremely common for people to have dash cams. And like insurance companies will give you discounts if you have one. So like a lot of people have them, and it's almost required in case you get into an accident or something happens on the road. They're like, I want your dash cam footage. I want your dash cam footage. Car parked on the side of the road. I want your dash cam footage. And they like rebuild the whole thing. And so like everybody has dash cams there. It's a thing. If any of you guys are from Korea or you've been there, you could let me know. But yeah, apparently it's like extremely common for people in South Korea to have dash cams. Like it's kind of a different world. They're becoming more common here, but not like there. CD, Mike V is 73. He definitely doesn't need the money. He just does it out of love. I wonder how much longer he's been working. Yeah, I think he's doing just fine. Like, they do it because you love this stuff, you know? We'll have different approaches and aspects of the way we want to do it. Like, I wouldn't want to be a manufacturer. I love kind of the more testing stuff, but other people want to be the manufacturer. So I'm glad there's different people who love different things. And yeah, I'm glad he's doing what he's doing. For sure. Let's see. Tony Prado just jumped on. What have I missed? Anything new? Not really. Just sharing other viewpoints. People discussing Thea. Like people are concerned that maybe it'll never see the light of day because Redenso would be prioritizing government projects or something. Maybe the other projects will lead to R&D that will trickle down to Thea too. But I don't know. Just kind of additional stuff that people have been discussing in the comments and on the forums. Just sort of discussing all that. And then people in the chat have also been sharing their thoughts as well. Phoenix, I've been more irritated by the silence than the timeline. They have restructured their entire company and Thea itself in the intervening time and use their own tardiness to justify telling us nada. That's got to be a tough position for Redenso to be in right now. Stuck between a rock and a hard place. Like reasons why you want to say something, reasons why you don't want to say something. And both of them have their issues. So like, yeah, definitely irritating for sure. But I'm actually kind of hoping too that like once we finish just getting this all out, we're just done with talking about Thea. Maybe there'll be something with like all the new Redenso Lab stuff. I hope that's really cool. I'm definitely gonna keep an eye on it. But like with Thea, I know talking about this earlier with Cobra Kai, like just release the thing. Release the thing. That's kind of what we need at this point. So yeah, speaking of Cobra Kai, let's see. Vortex, speaking of dash cams, a friend of mine has one he wants to sell with coverage. What do you mean with coverage? I think the company makes it is called Wayland or something. Is it any good? Currently have a VFO. They made a couple. They had like the track one. They had the Secure 360. I think they've actually kind of like 360. No, the Secure 360. Bad news. Stay away. It was. I've actually done a review on it. It was. If you want to check it out. No, the company they've actually stopped selling it commercially or to consumers, and I think they've switched to just selling to like commercial fleet applications only. So like they don't even sell it anymore. But yeah, I wouldn't run it. So let's see. Tony Prado. In my car community, a lot of people love the FitCam X, but I've been a strong advocate of VFO. So I looked at FitCam. They messaged me a while ago to like, hey, everybody, can we send it out and test and review and you can take a look at it. So I looked into it. The design stuff looks pretty cool. That's definitely the main appeal. It's not a 4K dash cam. They do advertise a 4K model. It's another one of the fake 4K ones. Evidently there's some reliability issues too. I don't know from experience, but that's apparently a thing. But the integration stuff I think is really cool. I love seeing it blend into the car better. So props to them for that as well. And hopefully they can up the reliability and stop lying about the 4K stuff. But yeah, the integration stuff is pretty cool for sure. Eugene, thank you for the super chat donation as well. So got my wife K-band shut off too for the Redline 1.10. K-notch K123 on, still too noisy. I don't think the Redline has a K-notch for 123. Oh, K segments 123. I was thinking Mazda CX-5 123. Yes. So I got my wife. Let's see. So K-notch on and segments 1, 2, 3 were still too noisy. Yeah, I mean, you could turn on TSR. You could do auto mode or even auto low-K. That can help as well. K-band off is obviously the nuclear option. But yeah, the thing still does false for sure. And that's, I guess, part of why we're sitting here in a Thea chat is because Thea is supposed to actually fix that problem. But the thing's not here. So in the meantime, I mean, maybe Stinger can do it. I don't know. Maybe Escort one day. Maybe Uniden someday. Maybe Valentine one day. I don't know. But like, yeah, nobody. Yeah. So it's kind of wild though. You're like, I'm gonna get a red line, expensive detector, great filtering, and you're like, the thing false is I'm gonna shut off K-band. Like that's the world we live in these days. That's crazy. That's crazy. But yeah, I mean, that's the world we live in. Let's see. Tony, the sleek building into the rear view is awesome, but yeah, lacks a lot of the features and adjustable options that I have from the VFO. From a budget standpoint, I think VFO can't be beat. Yeah, exactly. Bang for the buck with features. I don't know how sophisticated their parking mode is. It's probably one of the basic, simple ones, whatever. I think their biggest focus is really the design. I wonder to what extent, and I mean this very nicely, but like ignorance is bliss. If you don't know all of the features that are available in other dash cams, you just buy it and you're like, the thing records and the video quality is reasonable and it looks great and it can record when I'm parked. You're happy and that's awesome. Like genuinely happy and it meets your needs and that's great. I know we can dive into the weeds here on like all the different options and like this one can do this and that one can do that, but nothing does everything. So I wish there was one that could do everything, to what extent is it like, I'm really happy with this because it does enough of what I need. And I may not know about everything else that if I did, maybe I would want that too, but I'm happy with what I have. And so, I mean that in a good way of like ignorance is bliss, I wonder about that kind of stuff too. Yeah. 10R80 Sergio just upgraded from an Escort Max 360 to an R8. And man, I love the R8. Just wanted to say thank you because you're the one that convinced me. Cool. I'm glad you're happy with it. I guess since you've had those two specifically, what do you like better about the R8 coming specifically from the Max 360? Like what features or whatever is like, this is what makes it better. Cal Pilot 7. Redenso makes mediocre detectors and then puts out BS vaporware advertising in order to gain attention. That's a really common take. Yeah, that's a common take. I mean, I like their DS1. Pro M, long in the tooth, I think at this point. XP. Is that still $199 on Amazon? I know the price on that one was dropping. Let's see. Redenso XP. Okay, now it's $199 on Amazon. That's great. So the price dropped. It was like $299 and then $349. You're like, but it looks like it's dropped to $199. I guess it's been there for a little while. So, but by Big Jeff Online, not from Redenso. I don't know who that is. But yeah, there's $199 on Amazon for the XP. It's kind of going back and forth about DFR7/DFR9 versus XP at $199. The XP has some cool advantages, but I still kind of slightly give the edge to the Unidens just because the better performance and stuff. But yeah, hey, Cal Pilot, thanks for the super chat donation. I appreciate that. Andrew, hey, it's Andrew from New Zealand. Do you know when the Max CI is going to be updated? It's been a long time. Let me bring out my crystal ball that's going to tell you when the Max CI will be updated and then Thea is going to be released and Uniden will release the R9 and they'll release Bluetooth. I wish I had a crystal ball. But like, even if Escort told me, I wouldn't say anything at this point. I mean, and even if I like had permission to tell you or something, at this point, I'm just like, all the future stuff, it's caused so many problems with sharing that. It's just like, I would wait till it launches and they're like, hey, you can pre-order it now or you can go buy the thing now. But like, man, talking about future stuff, man, it causes problems. So I've been thinking about that because I'm like, R9 is coming. So you've got Redenso, the RCM, which I've been running for a little while now, and the Escort Max CI 360. I've actually been going back and forth running those two lately because I want to also start like getting into custom installed and talking about R9 and stuff. And then maybe also Stinger S8. So I'm getting more into custom installed stuff now. But yeah, I mean, it's weird. You would think that would be updated because like all the newest stuff here, they've got photo radar detection, they've got Wi-Fi. Why doesn't the Max CI offer that yet? Like Escort's laser jammer still limited to 4 heads. A 6-head bridge box never materialized. It's like all the new stuff, the latest and greatest is coming to the windshield mounts. Yeah, so let's see. R2, Redenso uploaded a video about Thea update 21 hours ago. They did. And that's why we're here. Haven't had time to watch it yet. Yeah. So basically, not really a ton of information. They're redesigning Thea, new components so that they can build it. It's going to be a little bit smaller. Hopefully, they can still hit that $1,000 price target. It seems like they were kind of hinting at maybe they're having to use different components that may not be as capable or whatever that are cheaper. But hopefully, maybe the newer tech is still just as capable, even if it's cheaper. We'll see. So hopefully, it can still do everything that Thea 1 was designed to do. Hopefully, it's better in every way. But they're not talking about Thea, so we're kind of left just sort of reading into things and guessing and speculating and whatnot. But yeah, still no ETA for the release. They're not going to provide any information, so bummer. Tony, you really should have a magic 8-ball that you bring out and shake whenever you get when questions. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll do that. Like, there's probably an app for it. I can bring it up on my phone, but making someone like put a little 8-ball thing on here and we'll be like, here's a question, and we'll hit it together and we'll all see the answer or something. That would be fun. Let's see. So they skipped straight to Thea 2. They did. Thea 1's apparently never coming. I don't know if they're going to call it Thea or Thea 2 at launch, but yeah, it's a next generation of Thea. Are there other things? I swear, I think there's been other things that are released as like, not to say it's the Doodad 2000, but like something 2 or something 3, but they never released version 1. Like, have there been other companies that have done that before? Like, I swear, I think I've seen somebody do that, but I can't put my finger on it. So maybe you guys can think of something. Phoenix. Yeah, I got the vibe too that they downgraded quite a few components as well to meet the price point. That's not confidence inspiring. I get it. You got to do what you got to do, right? It sounded like kind of they're upgrading to, what was it, like the Xilinx Ultra something. Got it in my notes. What was the name? Xilinx Ultra Scale platform. So the name, it's more ultra. I guess, and he did say I think it was better than like the previous Spartan 7. So I guess in that respect it should be better, but maybe they're saving cost on other parts, which could affect some other features. I don't know. So we'll have to see. Yeah, Jay Lee, Xilinx Ultra Scale is not a downgrade though. I think that part would be an upgrade, and if they're also trying to build maybe more powerful stuff in the future, making it all more modular, right? You've got that. Oh, here's a good example. Gabe, Apple skipped straight from the original iPhone to the 3GS. That's true. I think because it added like 3G. It wasn't the 3rd generation, but it added 3G. So they called it the 3GS. Excuse me. But they still released the original iPhone. It wasn't launched as like the iPhone 2, right? Like the original one that gets launched. Was there ever one that was launched as something 2? Like Samsung just went from like the S10 to the S20. They skipped a bunch. Like, so these skips can happen. But like the original model, I guess that's kind of what I'm curious about. Cobra Kai, do you think Redenso will still honor the "we'll pay for your ticket" policy? I think so. I have no idea or no reason to doubt that aspect of it. I mean, the speeding ticket guarantee, that's a big thing. It would be pretty bad if like they decide to say, oh, we're not going to honor it, even if it meets their criteria. Like, I know there's some fine print and maybe it doesn't work in case of if you're drunk or in a school zone or whatever, like the fine print says, but like, I would think they would still honor it, right? I would expect them to. Same thing with Escort or K40 or whoever else. Let's see. David Scott. Love the V1 Gen 2. Having laser falsing issues from the BMW gesture control. That's really common. Like, I think the gesture control stuff on the screen, the workaround for that is either, turn off laser or just move the detector so it can't see the gesture control screen. You got to move it somewhere else to avoid the laser falsing issues. I think I've seen some issues with like some Escorts as well. That's not just the V1. But yeah, some BMWs have been having issues triggering laser falses. So rely on laser jammers. I mean, just turn off laser detection on this thing. It's sensitive. It's great. It can save you in some situations, but really get a laser jammer if you truly want laser protection. And so it's kind of a workaround, even if it doesn't solve the problem with the detector falsing. But it's a workaround that can work. Let's see. Brand Theron. Downgrading components doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. I have to say I'm not so sure I care about the rotary knob as Redenso seemed to be in the Thea videos. I mean, I thought it was interesting to see him like looking at the design. Like the original V1, that had the knob, and I've got a couple detectors that. Where is it? Original V1. Where's my Max cam? Oh, it's outside because I'm gonna pop it back in the car. They had the knob, and like on the Max cam, it makes it super easy to just like spin through different options. I like it on options that have it, or like volume. You can more precisely set exactly where you want the volume levels. Like I know people got confused with the 2 different volume knobs, but like I think 2 detectors I have that have volume knobs, I like it. Not for everybody, of course, but when you're going through the menu to like spin this way instead of using the buttons on top and stuff, like a lot of detectors do, I think it's actually pretty cool. So I guess it was kind of a tease to some extent, but I like the idea, their approach of using the knob on it. But again, my take. I know not everybody will like it. That's with anything, right? Let's see. Zippy Stew. That reminds me. Have you had any K-pop issues with the Redline 360C? The day after I updated it, it showed K-pop for a 2-hour drive. I didn't think that thing could even detect K-band pop. Like it has an option for Ka-band pop, which you're just going to want to disable anyways. But like, I never use pop detection. I got a couple pop guns, but like, yeah, I never bother with it. I leave it turned off. That's like immediately it's off by default. And if it's not, I turn it off on day one. So I never mess with it. But yeah, I have heard the latest update. Some people have reported more false alerts with pop detection. So that could be a thing. I don't know if that happened after you updated. I have heard some reports of that, but otherwise, no. 240 atomic. In a regular environment, was there something you said before that? Regular environment, yeah, I would say that Theia would be vaporware. But in this chip-limited environment, I would tend to believe Rodenso. They're diversifying in order to recoup their R&D costs. I'm more in line with your camp as well. I know not everybody agrees, but I mean, given that we've seen other companies also have issues, not every company is affected equally, depending on what chips that they need and what's available. Like, I see a lot of comments of people like, "Oh, other companies can make products," and it's like, well, yeah, but not this issue doesn't affect every company and every chip equally. Yeah, there's definitely other companies that are having issues and they're having to work around in one way or another, and so I'm kind of inclined to agree with them in this respect. But I understand not everybody believes that. So yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you with that, Mr. Atomic. Hey, Jay Lee, thanks for the super chat. Saying hey from Bothell, thanks for the great work. Yeah, great to see you. Great to see you as well. So cool. And some discussion about like the new product. What are you guys, your guesses? So the new thing that they kind of teased a little bit for, I think it had like USB ports on it or something. What do you guys think it's going to be? Or if you think like, maybe what type of product or what kind of stuff would they want to do that has like Theia brains as the base, but does something else? Like, what do you guys think it's going to be? I'm curious. I know they're going to start talking about that. So that's kind of where they're headed with their next PR/YouTube video /YouTube channel and social media and all that kind of stuff. It'll be, yeah, whatever they're going to talk about new. So I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Tony Prado, I'm about to pull the trigger on your Vortex hoodie. I'm a hoodie fan. Yeah, it's really nice. The white one especially is like incredibly comfy. I tried to put that one in. I'll have to double check to see if it's still there, but like it's super comfy to the point where like my wife wanted one too. And so she was wearing mine. And so like for her birthday, I ordered one as well because like it was really comfy. I tried a different fabric or a different color and it was kind of rough textured. So it's like the white one is really good. I think the other one that's like blue is good as well, but I'm not totally sure on that fabric. But yeah, the hoodies are pretty nice. The winter, I've been wearing them a lot too. Ronald, what is Thea? Does anybody want to answer that one? I mean, you guys can hop in the chat. We'll see kind of what the answers are, and then I'll give kind of my simplified answer to it. Yeah, vaporware, of course, it's a ghost. So there's going to be a lot of the comments as well. But like, what is it supposed to be? Let's say, what's the idea with Thea? What is it supposed to be? Whether it launches or not, we don't know, right? But let's see. Thea was a proposed mountable radar detector with AI technology. Yep. Let's see. Yeah, radar detector is supposed to solve a lot of the problems we have, like blind spot false is supposed to not false to them because it does a better job of detecting radar and stuff. So yeah, next gen radar detector is supposed to be better than anything else, essentially. Thea drinking game tonight. Ooh, if we play that, you're dead. You're going to the ER before this live stream is over. If you drink every time somebody talks about Thea, been nice knowing you. We're probably going to have to come up with like an idea for a new drinking game or something. I'm curious to see how much people are going to ask about it kind of in like future live streams and whatnot, but we'll need to come up maybe like, when is the R9 coming out or something, Gabe is saying, I remember John from Rodenso talking about governments wanting a pocketable box with swappable antennas that could detect and identify Wi-Fi, radios, etc. Yeah, that could definitely be maybe what this new thing is. Pocketable box with swappable antennas that could detect, let's say, a variety of signals. Maybe that's what this is. It's possible. I wonder, like, if that's the case, is it kind of pre-programmed to do different things, or like, would you roll your own software for it, or you kind of wonder like how developed would it be? Would Redenso make the software so it's ready to go, or is it like have maybe an API so that you can build whatever you need? Or be curious to see kind of how that's implemented, right? Ronald, you seem to have a new office. No, I've been here for a little while. It's a different angle. I'm usually sitting when I'm doing my YouTube videos. I'm sitting like this. So camera's there. That's my background. I'll move the mic like up there or something. And I'll have like my ottoman like this here. So like my recorder or my laptop with notes or radar detectors I'm picking up and stuff would look like that. But yeah, this is for live streams. My computer's here, and sometimes I'll play around with different colors and backgrounds and that kind of stuff. So turn on lights so I can hear. So usually the lights are like that on the ground, so lighting up the background and stuff. But so anyways, just playing around with lights. These lights over here change colors, and that one, where is it? That one does, and this thing, which I can't get to turn on. I got to fix that. But anyway, yeah. Tony, I know you're only one man, but a Vortex podcast would be sweet. Guest speakers, call-ins, I'm down to chit chat. I would actually love to do one. I started a podcast for a little bit, and I thought at first, before I listened to podcasts and actually knew what podcasts were, let me just take my YouTube videos, strip out the audio, and then post them as podcasts. Turned out to not be a great idea. I think I did like 3 or 4 or something. But since then, I listen to podcasts all the time, and I'd actually love to do one. I would definitely want to get somebody to help me with the editing and posting and all that kind of stuff. But I would actually really like to do that. My main thing at this point is trying to get a video editor so I can get like so much stuff I want to test and post as videos. So like I really want to get that done. But yeah, I would love to get like somebody on for podcasting too. I'm all on board. I mean, I also wonder like something I've thought about. I know a lot of podcasters do ads, right? You got like an ad break and let me tell you about blah, blah, blah service. And like, I don't do ads myself. I've thought about it at some point. I still have a lot of mixed feelings on it, but I see a lot of people doing it. And I'm like, hey, that could be a way for, as a business, to have the business grow. So it does make me wonder like, okay, maybe I would sort of loosen up my policy on sponsorships and advertisements and that kind of stuff too, specifically for that. If I ever was to do that, then I would only ever do ads from like other companies, maybe something related, but like I don't think I would want to have, let me tell you about Blackview and Escort and Redenso, and I don't want like companies that I review like sponsoring me per se. It would be something else like a VPN service or a food service or something. So just if I ever was to do something like that, it might be that. But I'm sure there's other tech companies that would want to do podcasts. I don't know. Just thinking aloud, but I'd be curious, like, yeah, if you guys have thoughts on all of that, let me know in the chat as well. Let's see. So this is interesting. Keep in mind, Phoenix is saying that you can't have a chip shortage causing a lack of availability if you're literally selling another product powered by the same heart. That's a good point. So if they're going to be selling whatever this next product is, I'm assuming they will. I mean, I guess they're announcing it. We don't know about the availability for this new product. Are they using the parts that would go into Theia for this new part and selling that instead, which is then it's not really, there's a chip shortage, but they're prioritizing other stuff. That's a really good point. It's kind of obvious when you say that, but I kind of wonder. I'm guessing Redenso is probably watching this video and screaming in the background and saying, no, there's something else going on that you're not thinking of. But like, yeah, if they want to share, I mean, we're just speculating, we're guessing, right? If I would love to see Redenso share more, but yeah, we'll see if they do. I mean, again, I'm sure there's business reasons for them not to, but another question. Will Blackview ever bump their rear camera to 4K? I've been waiting for years. I doubt it. I don't think anybody does dual 4K. It's a lot of data to push. You can run a second 4K dash cam in the rear. I do. I've got 2 Blackview dash cams, front and rear. They're both 4K. So I've got 4K in the rear. Not really necessary. I mean, anything for the most part that happens in the rear, like somebody rear-ending you or something, you don't need 4K for that. But I do it. Just, yeah, it's a bigger camera. It does block a little bit more of the rear visibility. Maybe the downside, and there's a second video memory card in that one. But you can do it just 2 4K dash cams and boom, done. Let's see. The leader said new product is based on Theia 2. So yeah, that is a really good point. I wonder how that's going to work with like launching this new product. And again, they're announcing it. We don't know the ETA or availability of the new thing, but like they only have so many. Yeah, to some extent. yeah, they're prioritizing this other thing if they choose to sell that instead of Thea. That's a good point. If that's the case, they're getting, um, they can get, well, yeah, they're getting some chips. We know that. That's why they're redesigning to Thea too. So yes, they're going to be able to get the chips to build it, but who knows? Arrow runs a total of 10 cameras when he drives, 3 in the front, 3 in the rear, and 2 on each side. Yeah, I think I run by default 4 for my dash cams. Right now, I also have 2 A139 Pros on the front, so that's 2 more, and then an interior camera. Then usually a GoPro or 2 is needed. So whatever that, yeah, a lot of dash cams in my car. Life of a YouTuber. Kids are gonna grow up seeing cameras all around all the time, and like that's normal. So yeah. So it seemed like certain chips, Mitchell is saying, had a 50+ week lead time. And based on their update, they're using a different chip that doesn't have that crazy lead time. Yeah, and an interesting note about those lead times, they're not actually necessarily like 52 weeks. 52 weeks is a year. But a lot of times what would happen is like they don't know when the part is going to be available, and maybe 52 would be the max or whatever. So they're just like, the thing's not available for a year, 52 weeks. Which doesn't mean like you're going to get it on week 52 if you order. It's just kind of their way of saying like, we're not sure when the thing is going to happen. I know they mentioned in their video yesterday, like some of the things that they had some of the analog parts had like 70-week or 90-week lead time. So maybe other places actually do list it beyond a year, but I guess for like, what was it, DigiKey, whatever, I think it was 52 weeks they would list. Let's see. If you recall, Phoenix is saying on the beginning of the video, they said they were only updating us because people will tear down the new product and notice it's basically a redesigned Thea, aka Thea 2. Yeah, I mean, given the way they like to share things and show the internals and stuff, I'm sure they're going to show us what those internals are like. So we'll get to see the new ultra scale FPGA and stuff, the Xilinx, what it's like in use. We'll get an idea of what Thea is kind of going to be like, just with a different case and a display and antenna or whatever. So. Tony, let's see. I'm sure you're a great driver. Have you ever been pulled over and the cop peeks inside and sees all the cameras and radars? I wonder what would happen, what that would be like. I mean, I definitely want to be like, hey, officer, you're on camera. I just want to let you know. Most of the detectors are turned off. I sometimes run one on the windshield, which doesn't look too suspicious. A lot of people would have a detector up on the windshield. Cool. So, I mean, I try not to be super in your face about it, So maybe they'll say something. I don't know. I have had cops come up to my car for other things, just accidents on the road, or ask me about something for another house that's up there when I'm doing radar detector testing. So I mean, if they're focused on talking to me or something and making sure I'm not going to like hurt them or pull a gun or whatever, they're focused on that, not necessarily like checking out my radar detector setup. Some of the dash cams are usually pretty stealthy. I don't try to make a big deal about it either. I want them to be kind of stealthy unless it's something I'm testing and you see a cable hanging down the windshield, but maybe that's not too uncommon either for dash cams and phones and stuff. So GPS, it's common for somebody to have a cable hanging down the windshield. So it's not super strange. Let's see. Ask Hack. I was pulled over once with my Bearcat on close call. The Officer Stadium echo was pretty bad. That's funny. What did he say? He's like hearing his own transmissions or anything going on in your car. Like, did he ask you if you were a ham radio operator or if you were an undercover cop, or like, what did he say? Oh, interesting. So this is one. R2 reminds me of when the police took my Spectre and I had to fight it back in court. Okay, story time. What happened with that? Why did you have a Spectre? And it sounds like they knew what it was. Why did they take it from you? And what did you have to do to get it back? Like, here's an interesting story. You don't hear a lot of people running Spectres. That's a pretty specific thing to be doing. Ask Cat, coming back to the Bearcat thing with close call. I explained I'm allowed and also hands-free. And yes, I'm a ham. Okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah. And then coming back to the Spectre thing, radar detectors are illegal to use here, and they thought it was a detector. That makes sense. I mean, well, technically it's a radar detector as well, but it's tuned to detect the emissions coming out of radar detectors. So it's a radar detector that's not designed to detect police radar, but I guess, yeah, the cop doesn't know that. Having to deal with all that. Let's see. David Scott, the cop looked inside and started laughing. My interior looked like the Enterprise. I wondered about that too. And you go like full on jet fighter cockpit with like phones and mounts and displays and mics and cameras and all this stuff. Like, that's actually a common thing that people wonder about. I see in the comments is like people wondering about it. One, is it legal to stick things to your windshield? And two, does it block your visibility? Especially when I'm like, I want to show a dash cam or something like this. And so I've got my phone and I'm like pointing it right up close, or the camera's really close so that you can see it, right? And it looks super big and it takes up a big chunk of the screen, but it's actually a really little camera and you can still see all the stuff on the windshield, but with the camera really close, it looks like, oh my gosh, it looks so big. So a lot of times in the videos, the visibility looks worse than it is. Like I can still see stuff. So I try to show that sometimes with like zoom the camera back, to get a better view. But yeah. Let's see. So the conclusion for the Spectre story was that I'm allowed to own one, but not operate due to some restricted frequency or something silly. I got it back and the fine was dismissed. Interesting. Restricted frequency. You weren't allowed to listen to the restricted frequency? Or you're not allowed to, or what do you mean by, because I know sometimes there's issues like you can't listen to police radio stuff because it's a restricted frequency and sometimes they encrypt and stuff, but age. Blend mount needs an all-in-one solution to hold a dash cam, a toll pass, and a radar detector. It's getting crowded behind the rearview mirror. Yeah, that's a common thing. I've seen people trying to do both. I have seen some people, it's not officially supported and recommended, but some people do like a radar detector and a blend mount for the dash cam, for the Blackview dash cam. You can sometimes stuff both of those up there with two blend mounts. It gets crammed. You do need a bigger rearview mirror stem to be able to fit all that in there. It gets a little funky, gets a little weird. I have seen a couple people do it, so it's possible. Keeps it off the windshield. That's nice if you can't mount stuff to your windshield. They don't recommend it typically. It's an all-in-one like that might be kind of tough, just having to build so much custom stuff. Like they build it for every car and then every dash cam, and it's try to build every possibility. It's crazy, but yeah, it would be cool for the people who need it. Coming back to the Spectre restricted frequency thing. Apparently those frequencies are for law enforcement units only, and civils aren't allowed to send or receive on them. Interesting. Okay. Where was this that they said that? That's interesting. I've never heard any sort of restrictions on operating a Spectre, just because usually it's not something that a driver would be using, right? Interesting. So we can't listen to radar detector emissions in your area with the Spectre and pick up on it. Interesting. I wonder also about the police detector thing that's coming out, like if there's going to be any sort of similar restrictions, because that's straight up designed to detect police cars. I don't think that there's any restrictions on that. They don't want to say, even though you can dig and find out what it's listening to, they don't want to say what it is that they're listening to coming out of police cars. So out of courtesy, I won't say what it is, but I think they should say, because it's kind of weird when you're like, you have a radar detector, it's pretty clear what it's detecting. You have a Spectre, it's clear what it's detecting. A laser detector, a laser jammer, it's very clear what you're detecting. And with the police detector, I mean, they have to detect something. So you can dig and find out, but it's kind of weird to try to hide that in their secret sauce. So again, they've got reasons why they would want to do it, but yeah. Oh, thank you for the super chat. What is it? 2G no spam. Is that a YouTube name so you don't get spammed? That's cool. So yeah, thanks for the super chat donation. I appreciate that. So the Spectre stuff, that's in Finland. Okay, I could see that other countries are a lot of times they're pretty restrictive on what they allow you to use and listen to and stuff. 7 blocking. I have a Redline 360C. Do you think it's the best detector right now overall? And I'm somewhat safe. I live in Michigan and all I see is KA 34 to 35 gigahertz and some laser, but rarely. The issue that I have with it is some of the reactivity that we've been seeing on K-band. But if you're focused on KA, it's fine. For laser, I'd say, yeah, maybe consider a set of laser jammers to go with it, whatever you want to get. I think once Escorts fully resolves some of their responsiveness stuff, like I'd be much more comfortable recommending it and saying, yeah, it's awesome, it's great. There's been a lot of testing done by different people, K-band guns, Ka-band guns, close range, far away, all this kind of stuff. We've been seeing some issues there, so I hope they work on it, not just the bench testing stuff that I did, but so I'm not fully sold on it. But if you're running it strictly for Ka-band, yeah, that's fine. I mean, yeah, great range. Ramp up is now good too. Might be a little bit overkill as a Ka only detector, but yeah, I think it's fine. It's fine. Let's see, Joseph. I always catch highway patrol hiding from my ways, but my red line rarely goes off. Are they using something new in New York, or are they just sleeping? It's either instant on radar, they're not doing speed enforcement at all, or they're running laser. Very common. So, yeah, these aren't police car detectors, they're radar detectors. So if they're using radar, actively transmitting, they can pick it up. If they're not, then yeah, you might rely on something like Waze or whatever else. Chico Croata. Hello from Melbourne, Australia. Good eye. Home of the most fixed and mobile cameras in the world to catch people for speeding. It's a battle living here. Thanks for all your information and advice. Yeah, you guys have like what, the Polyscans? Like the Polyscans on the side of the road and stuff. What all do you guys have there? Like I know Australia it's definitely different than what we have here in the US in many ways. I've seen some stuff for you guys like having to do like ALP heads mounted at angles to catch some of the polyscan shooting from the side and stuff. Yeah. Let's see. Tony, I sometimes pass the highway and my detector doesn't sound. Probably not actively checking speeds. It's really common. It's one of the most common questions, I think, is people are like, hey, why did my detector not go off? And it's like, yeah, it's not a police car detector. It's a radar detector. Really common. Lou, still going. Are you a masochist? No, I just love hanging out and chatting with you guys about radar detectors. Like literally just hang out and have fun and talk about this stuff. So it's unscripted. I don't have to edit anything afterwards. Once we're done, I just log off. I hit the big red button to end the stream and like I can walk away. There's no video to do. There's no editing. There's no whatever. It's just like video's done. We just talk about it and you guys get to chat. I get to chat. It's great. Like there's an hour and a half and it's going to take me zero work once we're done with this. This is great, you know? So yeah, fun. We just get to hang out and chat. And yeah, my kids are at school. So they're at daycare, they're at school, preschool. Like let's do this. So, and also let's talk about Thea. Let's get it all out. And then I can move on and focus on other things too. So yeah, it's cool. UTR, is there a straightforward way that you would recommend to install jammers in a leased car and you have to switch it out every few years for a new car? I did a set of blinders, just traditional wired jammers, drilling through the firewall and mounting in I drilled a hole even in my what's it called, center console thing for the controller. I left it there afterwards because I didn't want to leave a hole there. And lease return, they didn't care. Maybe they didn't notice or whatever. Maybe I got lucky, but like it wasn't an issue. So, I mean, I get it. Depending on the car, you're probably not going to want to drill a ton of holes. Sure. Something like maybe the Escort ZW5 would be the easiest because you don't have to drill a cable through the firewall. Just everything stays in the engine bay. That could be an option. So if you're looking for the easiest one and you have a fairly easy way to actually mount it in the grill, that could be an option. That could be an option. So if you're going for the easiest one, that would be the way to go. UTR, not worried about the lease return so much as I'm worried about the time and money spent on each install. Yeah, keeping everything in the engine bay and not having to drill through the firewall does simplify and speed up and save you money on installation. So just everything is just, double stick tape or zip tie or wherever you stuff the components into the engine bay somewhere, hook it up to your car battery, attach the head somewhere there. So that would be the quickest, in terms of installation. So I think go that route. I did see the price on those when they went up. I think it's like, was it $1,000 instead of 900 or 800 or whatever it used to be. So yeah, Escort sells the ZW5s. There's two versions. One's hardwired. The other one uses like a special cigarette lighter cable with like a tube that's in the cable. That's what does the communication to the box in the engine bay. So you just get a different power cable. And I mean, you can hardwire. It's not a big deal to hardwire in a lease. So, I mean, you can do that, especially if you're going to keep the car for a couple of years. So you can go that route. Or if you want the easiest installation, do the cigarette lighter version. Grommet wire tool helps. Yeah, I mean, you can do the drilling yourself to like push through a grommet wire. I was actually reading a story earlier this week. Somebody who was drilling their own cable in like a Hyundai Palisade. They were drilling the hole and they accidentally went through some of the existing cables and it started causing all the issues and put their car into limp mode. And now they're looking into getting repairs and maybe their car's not drivable and stuff. And so it can be a concern. I mean, especially if you're doing it yourself and you're not super comfortable. Like, I'm not comfortable doing that kind of stuff. I usually like to take it to a professional. It does cost more. In my Miata, I had a professional actually drill the hole for me, and then I was like, I'll run the cables myself. I can do the install, but to try to save money, But yeah, for some of the stuff, you're going to want a pro, and it costs money. So I'm kind of sold on the ALP. I wonder if they use the same setup. Speaking of the wireless thing, so there are ways of doing ALP over Bluetooth. They expressly do not recommend it. And the reason is the ALP CPU is not waterproof. So if you have any failures with water getting into the engine bay, damaging the CPU and killing the ALP, it will void your warranty. And they're not going to take care of you for that. I have seen some people work around it by putting the CPU in like a little Pelican case, like a waterproof case essentially, and then just running the cables out. So you can do it. You do have to kind of work around to do it at your own risk because it's not really designed for that. But yeah, you could do an AOP as like a wireless install with everything in the engine bay. Just be careful with it. And I've seen some people do like a plastic bag trick, CPU in a plastic Ziploc and then like rubber band around it to try to waterproof it that way. So, I mean, waterproof the CPU is however you want to do it, because it will void the warranty if you get any water intrusion issues in the CPU. S. Cottrell, I hope you and your family are doing well. Thank you. Yeah, doing better. Mostly healthy. Son's still sick, but runny nose. Kids get colds all the time. It's that season, I guess. But yeah, thanks. I asked you a few years ago about your detector to use, and you said the R3. Still use it and save me a lot of money. That is still a solid detector. I mean, it's now what, $300, whatever it's going for, and oops, my lights are there. Here's an R3, normal looking one. But yeah, I mean, R3, yeah, it's hard for other companies to compete with this guy at this price point. They have to like, okay, higher price point, but try to find something a little bit better. Let's add Bluetooth, or let's add auto lockouts, or let's add whatever to try and compete with it. But like $300, it's good detector. Even today, I know there's the R4 and stuff that's out, but Maxton, thanks for your R8 guides. I purchased one and set it up using your video. Good, I'm glad. I'm planning on doing that video forever. Speaking of delays. But yeah, finally got like a copy of public firmware and was like, I don't know when Bluetooth is going to come out, so let's just shoot the video. And then when Bluetooth comes out, I'll do a video with like, here's how to set it up and all that. But yeah. Let's see. My R8 had a weird display issue and had to get it replaced. Didn't go completely black. Instead, it slowly got darker and darker as the screen burned into the image. Had to replace it. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if I've heard of the display going darker and darker like that. That's a little different than the traditional burn-in issue. There definitely were some screen failure issues, especially in the beginning. And that, yeah, Udit took care of those customers. But a replacement OLED. So looks like S. Cottrell, any way to get a replacement OLED for it because of burn-in? I don't think manufacturers typically sell those parts for you to like swap in and resolder yourself or something. Usually you have to send the detector in for repair/replacement, depending on how they handle those issues. But typically you send the whole detector in. I have seen some things in the past for speaker issues to where you can like get a different speaker and just open it up and unplug the old one and plug in the new one. So you can DIY it, especially if you know the speaker model. There's been ways to do that kind of stuff, but usually you send the detector. Yeah, Maxton, looked on eBay. I didn't see any parts other than speakers. Yeah, usually it's just speakers because that's literally just you unplug it and plug in a new one. Displays are usually, I believe they're like soldered on. It's like a ribbon cable. They're not as easy to DIY. So, yeah. Dirt Burger. I'm going to run my R7 until the R9 comes out with laser jammers. That should be interesting. It was cool to see that finally Uniden like revealed that after we saw the FCC stuff from like, what, 2 years ago or whatever that was. It finally showed the R9 at SEMA, and then that's going to be coming out in the spring. So, knock on wood. Future stuff, don't know for sure. I feel like I'm always going to have to give that caveat now. And whenever I forget, people are going to be like, Vortex, you guys remember Theia? And who knows about the future? So, yeah. Still waiting for the Bluetooth release for Unit, and it's only been 2 years. Dude, I know. Man, I wondered. Yeah. Some of the stuff, the delays, it's crazy. I wonder, like, how much should I talk about this as even a feature, right? Should I mention it as a selling point? It's like, it has Bluetooth, but now years later, eventually it's going to get released, and Uniden says they don't even want to release their own app, and it's only going to be third-party people. So other people are going to have to build apps for them. They're not even going to release their own app, which is kind of ridiculous to me. I wasn't expecting that. I was like, of course they're going to release an app for basic stuff, like the V1 or whatever, right? Change settings, maybe basic display some alerts, upgrade the firmware over Bluetooth or something. Cool. They're not going to do anything. Like, they have Bluetooth, but not an app. And I guess, to be fair, they didn't lie. They said the detector is going to have, well, it has Bluetooth. They just haven't activated it yet. And then that's true. But I assumed, of course, you're going to release your own app. But they're not going to, I don't know. That situation is kind of weird. So, Maxton, yeah, Uniden said they're not, what they told me at least, they're not planning on developing their own app, which I think is kind of ridiculous. But yeah. Tony, I'm still lagging on sending my Max 360 in for their tier 3 service refurb. Yeah, I wonder if they do anything, like if you have the older one, can they like switch mounts now that they have the new Easy Mag mount? I don't know if they give you an option to upgrade like that. Max 360, I sent it in for repair, and then like the buttons and text and stuff is starting to wear out again. I'm curious, like, I don't know what's going on with yours and what you need refurbished, but my Max 360, take a look at it. The text is like starting to wear off here for the name, and then on the buttons it looks really bad, but like the button wear, I mean, the text is coming off, the stuff is fading off, and like, it's not the first time. It's literally after it's happened before. It looks like, I mean, I want to use it for photos and like, hey, let me show you the detector, and it looks awful. So I mean, the mute button text here, you can see that's supposed to say mute, like that's almost completely gone. So, but yeah, I've got like the old style mount. So I guess it's good to see. They do swap to the new mag mount for free. That's cool. So yeah, I've got the original mag mount here on my Max 360. It doesn't have the easy mag mount. It's the hard mag mount. It's not easy. Kind of the old style one. So yeah, it's like the original one with the original Bluetooth and stuff when it first came out. But after these live streams, I always wind up with like a whole stack of detectors I keep grabbing off the shelf, and then when I'm done here, I have to like bring everything back. 4 o'clock here. I'm probably gonna have to head off here pretty soon to go like walk the dog and go pick up the kids, and then dinner and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, we'll hang out here for a couple more minutes, and then I'll have to go. But any maybe like last questions you guys really want to talk about that I haven't gotten to yet, or I don't know. What do you guys want to talk about? Like, we'll just kind of keep going through like the chat because it's fun. I love chatting with you guys about stuff. Fee, are we really that bad as customers in the radar space? I feel like I'm pretty reasonable in most cases. V1 Gen 2 and Thea are very unique examples. Unit and app is another rare wild case. I don't know. I wonder, like, I would love to hear manufacturers uncensored, like anonymously giving your, because that way they would be more open. You know, I'm sure they don't want to speak bad about people in public and then it makes them look bad and start drama. But like, manufacturers' take on us. I know that there's complaints with trolls, and like most of them aren't on RDF. It's a headache to deal with all the complaints and all the stuff from enthusiasts. And like, I totally get that. So I think there are a lot of manufacturers who don't like enthusiasts, who go to the forums and are leave. Redenso's gone. Mike Valentine never wanted to rejoin after RD.net. Escort is there a little bit, but not really. AOP with Tom, he's not really much there anymore. TMG, I don't think there's anybody there right now. I mean, you know, a lot of companies that don't even want to be on the forums. So like, I would love to hear their uncensored, raw, like real take of, what do you think? Do you get mad at me for like stuff? Am I being too unfair to the manufacturers? You know, I try to be fair. Maybe I'm not. You know, I'd love to hear their take on enthusiasts, on us, on me, all that. I think that would be really cool. maybe some way to like have them be able to openly, anonymously share that kind of stuff, so they would feel comfortable doing it without any sort of like pushback afterwards or something. So in the interest of transparency, right? I mean, I'm not perfect. What can I do better? So anyway, S. Cotrell, what do you think about Renenso starting to focus more on engineering out of the radar space instead of putting more energy into Thea? Yeah, I know we definitely were talking about that, but that's a good question. I think it makes a lot of sense from a business perspective. I think there could be a lot of money there. You don't have to deal with radar detector trolls and enthusiasts. Like, I mean, honestly, there's probably a lot more money there. If you're getting into like government contracts and defense spending and a lot of commercial applications, like if you want to be involved in the radar detector space, you have to love radar detectors. Like it's a small niche thing. Like it took me forever even to get 100,000 subscribers. Like it's other people blow up way faster. Radar detector companies, I don't think there's a ton of money in this space. I could be wrong, but like I don't think there's a ton of money, especially compared to other things. So if you want to be in this space, you got to do it because you love radar detectors. And maybe I think it's easy to lose sight of that sometimes and like give manufacturers a hard time. But like I'm grateful. They're people who are building stuff and creating things for us. Like without the manufacturers, we wouldn't have anything to talk about and use and keep us protected. So as much of a hard time as we sometimes give manufacturers and complain about missed expectations and whatever, like we also kind of need them. And they're the reason why we have the stuff in the first place. So also really grateful. But anyway, yeah, coming back to the question, they're focusing on Renenso focusing on engineering stuff out of the radar space. I think it could be more profitable. I think it could be very successful. I think they're really onto something with all their AI stuff, and it makes total sense to see them expand in that way. I just hope that they can still make Thea, and a lot of that advancement and R&D trickles down into Thea 2 and 3 and 9 and whatever. But at some point, just release Thea. But I don't know. Fee, let's see. Ooh, the anonymous stuff. You could set up an email account for anonymous input from companies, but they should be able to take you on your word on this at this point. Yeah, maybe I could set up like a form on my website or some way for companies to anonymously send information on like, here's our take. We could share that. There's got to be ways of doing that. I know there are places where you can like confess stuff, right? Anonymously say what's going on in your life. So I don't know how to do that, but that could be a way for people to like share stuff without the concern and worry. Like I'll never share. I'm not going to like pull people's IPs or try to identify them. It's more just like, hey, share your stuff. I want to hear what you think, really. Let's see. Renenso has something unique with the powerful and modular SDR core. A lot more applications than radar detectors. 100%. I agree with you, Jay. Jerry, been asking, what's the difference between the R8 and the R7? I've covered that one multiple times already. I think the last time I covered that was in my video going over like the best radar detectors. It's now for 2023. I go into that in a lot more detail. So like design, Bluetooth, the mute button, and the range, and how the R7 has the custom firmware, which means it's probably a better bang for the buck and a better overall detector for more people. But the R8 gives you the longer range. Like, yeah, take a look at the video. I cover that pretty extensively there. R7 with the 1.50 international firmware for the extra filtering, pretty cool. Familiar with Gamers Nexus? Does that all the time with employers. Some press rely on that for news as well. I'm not. I'm gonna have to look that up after this. Gamers Nexus notes. See how he approaches that, and I could maybe do something similar. So thank you for that tip, Fee. I appreciate that. That could be cool too. Maxton, Renenso could develop an AI radar gun. Please don't develop radar guns for the other side. Let's see, Jay. Steve at GN is awesome. Gamers Nexus is a genius. Computer enthusiast. I'm not familiar with this guy. I got to check him out. Apparently, you guys are liking him too. Thanks for the tip. Maybe after I hop off this live stream, I'll just pull up his channel and check him out. So, yeah, awesome. Cool. Maybe 2 more minutes, then I'll have to go. I can look at the time, and I'm like seeing my schedule now with everything I got to do for the rest of the day. So 2 more minutes, then we'll head off. But let's see. Unit in R4 GPS is reading a couple miles per hour faster than my car speedometer and phone GPS, which is annoying because I use the overspeed warning. That does sound annoying. Usually GPSs are pretty accurate within plus minus 1 sometimes want to read like 39, other ones 40, but they should usually be pretty close. Sometimes car speedometers are off for various reasons. You can read about that, tires and legal stuff, whatever. But if you said it matches your phone GPS, that's kind of weird. Usually all the GPS ones are pretty accurate. So yeah, anyway, okay. I think I'm going to have to take off. Thank you to all of you guys for hanging out. It's been almost 2 hours here. So thanks for the fun afternoon of just talking about Thea, and we all got to share our opinions and our thoughts. And yeah, thanks for hanging out in the comments, on the live streams, on the chats. I love getting to do this with you guys. It's honestly super energizing and fun. Definitely different experience than sitting behind a camera and then sitting behind or in front of a camera and then behind a computer. Like, I love the interaction stuff too. So really, thank you to you guys for hanging out with me and just making this whole experience fun. So best of luck to Renenzo with Thea. I hope they launch it. I hope it's awesome. I hope it comes soon. I want to see more awesome stuff in this industry. So yes, that's it for now. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.